girlfriend cheated on me while I was stationed in Korea, so I got revenge in a way she never saw coming. Years ago, I was sent to Korea. Within a month of arriving, I got a message from my girlfriend's sister back home. She told me my girlfriend had slept with one of my friends. At first, I didn't want to believe it, so I confronted my friend, and to his credit, he admitted it and apologised. Then I confronted my girlfriend. She denied everything, over and over. Only when she realised I already knew the truth did she finally come clean. But what bothered me most wasn't even the cheating. It was that she didn't seem sorry. She was more focused on finding out who exposed her than what she had done. That's when I decided I wasn't going to just sit there feeling sorry for myself. So over the next few paychecks, I quietly started saving money. Then I told her I was saving for a plane ticket to bring someone from back home out to visit me in Korea. What I didn't tell her though was who it was. Back home, she had an old high school rival, someone I had briefly dated before. The two of them hated each other, and when I reached out, her rival was more than happy to come. So she flew to Korea. We spent the week going out, drinking, shopping, and having a great time. And when she went home, she posted every picture online. Photos of us together, smiling, living it up. My ex completely lost it. Messages, angry comments, rants about how I was the worst person alive. She went on for weeks. Eventually, once she cooled down, she reached back out. According to her, we were even now. She said maybe we could start afresh. Then she asked me to fly her out to Korea. I told her I'd think about it. Meanwhile, I was already saving money again. A couple months later, I told her I had enough for another plane ticket. She was excited. She thought she was coming. Then as the flight got closer, I stopped replying, because the person actually boarding that plane was her sister. The same sister who told me the truth in the first place. We had it planned in advance. She even rushed to get a passport in time. She made it out, spent the week hanging out, going out, and enjoying Korea. She also ended up meeting someone else while she was there, which honestly made things easier for me. At that point, I felt like revenge had already been served. When she flew home, she, again, posted pictures too. Some with me, some with other people. Enough to make it very clear she had been the one I brought out there. That led to a full public online war between the two sisters. And I won't lie, back then I thought it was hilarious. These days, it just sounds exhausting. After all of that, I moved on and got back to living my life. Years later, at our 15-year high school reunion, I saw my ex again. I was at the bar with friends, including the first girl I flew out. Our eyes met across the room. She mouthed 2 words, "Forget you." I just smiled back and went back to my night. Revenge felt satisfying at the time, but sometimes the best part is seeing how little they matter years later.
I was trained to stay calm under pressure, follow rules, and think 3 moves ahead. As a soldier, discipline was supposed to be part of who I was, but the war that nearly destroyed my life was one that I started at home. Follow for more real stories like this, because some battles leave damage long after they're over. At the time, I was serving in the military and living what looked like a stable life from the outside. I had a spouse, a home, structure, routine. The kind of life people assume is solid. But underneath all of that, I had started something secret. I was seeing another woman for almost a year. What began as an escape became something much bigger than I ever planned. At first, I treated it like an operation. Rules, boundaries, damage control. No talking on weekends, no sharing personal details, no emotional attachment, no evidence left behind. I kept a separate phone for calls, limited contacts, clear lines between real life and hidden life. I thought if I stayed disciplined, I could control the situation. That was my first mistake. Then I met her, and little by little, every defence I built started to fall. I fell for her harder than I'd expected. She made me feel seen in a way that I hadn't felt in a long time. We talked constantly, shared frustrations, dreams, private thoughts. Things I never meant to share. She was married too, and according to her, that relationship had been over emotionally for a long time. Her spouse barely paid attention. As long as she gave him space, he stayed occupied in his own world. She would text me while right sitting next to him. At the time, it felt exciting. Looking back, it should have been a warning. Still, I ignored it. The separate phone became my personal phone. Then came constant texting, morning messages, midday updates, late night calls. I wasn't following rules anymore. I was emotionally deployed somewhere I never meant to go. For a few months, somehow it worked. Then came the breach. 1 month, our phone bill suddenly spiked. My spouse started checking the account, trying to figure out why. One click became another, and then another, until she reached the call logs. And there it was. Thousands of calls and messages to one number. My cover was blown. She woke me up immediately, asked for my phone, started searching through everything. I had deleted messages and call history from the device itself, thinking I'd cleaned up every trace. I hadn't. She called the number. No answer. I remember the relief hitting me like backup arriving at the last second. Maybe I could still get out of this. Maybe I could explain it away. So I reached for every weak excuse I had. Billing error, spam number, maybe the account has been compromised. None of it was convincing. But the next day, we went out with friends. She was calm, warm, almost normal. And I made the mistake of thinking I had survived it. I hadn't. The following day, I was sitting in the living room when she came storming out the bathroom yelling, "Who is she?" She had called again. This time, the other woman answered. No more cover story, no more strategy, no more pretending. The truth had broken through the front line. I was thrown out of my house. Everything I thought I had under control collapsed in a single moment. I cut off contact immediately, radio silence. My spouse and I tried to rebuild things after that. It was brutal. Therapy, hard conversations, shame, long nights. Some progress happened, but one truth remained. I still wanted the other woman. That's the part no one talks about. Even after consequences, even after destruction, feelings don't retreat just because they should. So after some time passed, I reached out. She had moved on. She was with someone else. That hit harder than I expected. I'd nearly destroyed my life, and the person I risked it all for had already continued without me. More time passed, then I reached out again. This time, she had just ended things with the other guy, so we tried again. We met a few times. The chemistry was still there. The attraction was still there, but the peace was gone. Now there were expectations. She believed that once everything came out, I would leave my marriage. She thought I'd choose her. She planned to leave her own spouse too, but I had hesitated, delayed, avoid making a real decision. And hesitation can lose battles faster than fear. She wanted more time, more commitment, more proof that she mattered. Instead of honesty, I said maybe we should end it. That was the final explosion. She unleashed everything, called me every name possible, then made a threat that chilled me instantly. She said that she could send every message, every photo, every secret to my spouse. She knew where I lived. She didn't need my phone number to destroy what was left. For months after that, I lived on edge. Every knock at the door, every unknown number, every strange look from my spouse. I kept waiting for the next strike, but it never came. Eventually, she disappeared from my life. Years later, I contacted her one last time, not to restart anything, just to apologise for the lies, for the cowardice, for dragging everyone into a war that I created. She replied with one word: thanks. That was it. No reunion, no dramatic closure, no second chance. Just one word, and then radio silence. Looking back now, I thought military training meant that I understood discipline. I thought rules and secrecy meant control. But once emotions entered the battlefield, I had already lost. I wasn't just balancing two lives, I was destroying both.
So I slept with a soldier's wife for 8 months. And to this day, I still don't know if I helped save the marriage or completely crossed a line I never should have touched. I'm posting this on a throwaway account because this story is real, and even now, years later, I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it. Back then, my ex-wife and I lived a very unconventional lifestyle. We'd get invited to private parties, sometimes on yachts, sometimes in exclusive homes. It wasn't random. These were people we knew, friends even, if you know what I mean. There was trust and an unspoken understanding of what those nights were about. One evening, a couple we knew brought someone new. They introduced her as Alice. It's not a real name, obviously. She stood out immediately, not just because she was attractive, but because there was something else there, a kind of quiet loneliness. We were told her husband was deployed, his second tour in Iraq, and before he left, they made an agreement. She could play, as long as it wasn't emotional, as long as it ended the moment he came home. She had 2 kids, a life, a family, but also a long stretch of time alone. Over time, Alice became part of the group, and outside of those parties, she was just easy to be around, funny, relaxed, real. Eventually, my wife and I separated. Not long after, I got a call from Alice. She didn't overcomplicate it. She asked if I'd be interested in something casual, no strings, a friend with benefits situation. And I said, yeah, why not? For the next 8 months, we saw each other regularly, usually during the day when life was quiet, when responsibilities were temporarily on pause. It wasn't about building something, it wasn't about the future, it was just 2 people filling a gap in each other's lives. She had her routines, her ways of unwinding, and we'd spend hours together. Time that felt separate from everything else going on in the world. She was always clear though. She loved her husband, she loved her family, and whatever this was, it had an expiration date. There was no drama, no confusion about where we stood. In a strange way that honestly made everything simpler, and maybe more intense. But the clock was always ticking. And then one day, just like that, she said it. This will be the last time I see you. He's coming home next week. There was no build-up, no hesitation, just a statement of fact. And that was it. No goodbye speech, no promises to stay in touch, just an ending. I respected that. I never called her again, never messaged, never tried to check in. She lived maybe 20 miles away, but I never saw her again. And honestly, I hope a reunion with her husband was everything they needed it to be. I hope they rebuilt, reconnected, and found their way back into each other fully. That was almost 10 years ago, and I still think about it sometimes. Not just because of the memories, but because of the question that never really goes away. What was my role in all of that? Did I help her get through a difficult time? Something that ultimately strengthened her marriage? Or did I take advantage of a situation that shouldn't have existed in the first place? She told me she had permission. I chose to believe her, but I never really knew for sure. And maybe that's why it still sits with me the way it does. No clear answer or conclusion. Just a moment in time that felt right back then, and looks a lot more complicated in hindsight.